When I was a kid and I did something wrong, my mum used to call me Sid. That little shithead from Toy Story 1 that used to take people's toys and bring them into his laboratory where he'd cut their heads off and turn them into all kinds of fucked up abominations. But you know what? I don't think Sid was all that bad. I think he was just misunderstood and honestly kind of creative. So I decided to channel my inner Sid for my next album's cover art. I gathered a bunch of toy parts and cut and pasted them together, and then painted them to make them into these little character things. Like this one that's missing an arm. For the album cover, I wanted to put them all together for a class photo. So I got some popsicle sticks and made this miniature school hall for the characters to have their class photo on, as well as a little class sign. I got them all in place and then got my friend Matt to take a photo of them with his film camera. But instead of showing you guys my new album art all in one go, I figured I could introduce you to each character one by one in a new series I'm calling Intro to the Class of Cardinal Sin.
Intro to the Class of Cardinal Sin.
I'm going to introduce you guys to some characters that I cut and pasted together and then painted for a class photo that's going to be my album art. This is Benjamin Bork. He's the quiet kid in high school. He's not popular, but he's also not unpopular either. He just kind of existed. He regularly hears his parents fighting through the walls, and as a way of escaping, he loses himself in detailed drawings whilst listening to his favorite records. You're probably wondering why he's missing an arm and why he's holding a knife, and that's actually because of another character named Gabe Godman. Gabe is Benjamin's best friend. They grew up as close as brothers, but one night as the two were hanging out, they heard about a new drug that was going around town. Gabe convinced Benjamin to try it, but overshot the dosage. Benjamin became convinced that his arm was possessed, and the only solution was to cut it off. He was rushed to the hospital, but died before they could get him on the table. Filled with guilt for convincing Benjamin to take the drug, Gabe hung himself that night. Those are the first two character stories from the cover of my album, Class of Cardinal Sin. First single, Cut on the Crease, is out December 11th.
Intro to the Class of Cardinal Sin.
Here are a few more characters that I cut and pasted together and then painted for my album art. This is Harris Hagerty. Harris is the kid at high school that everybody likes. He's the one that walks into a room and genuinely puts a smile on your face. Harris is good at a lot of things, but he's not passionate about anything in particular. And because of this, he doesn't really know what he wants to do with his life. Harris was raised by his widowed father, who lost his wife in labor when she was giving birth to Harris. They've looked out for each other over the years and have a very close relationship as a result. Harris's father owns a corner store, and Harris regularly helps out after school. But one night when they were working late and stocking the shelves, someone armed broke in and held them at gunpoint. And in a desperate attempt to save his son, Harris's father rushed the intruder. During the struggle, the gun discharged and Harris's father was on the other end of it. And to clear the crime scene of any witnesses, the intruder turned his gun to Harris. These are two more characters from the album art from my record, Class of Cardinal Sin. First single out December 11th.
Intro to the Class of Cardinal Sin.
I mixed and matched a bunch of toy parts and then painted them to make unique characters for my album artwork. And today I'm introducing you to Tevin Thompson. Tevin is mature beyond his years, but tends to keep people at arm's length, and because of this he doesn't have many friends at school. He was raised in a healthy household until his brother died in a car crash, which tore his family apart, pushing his mother towards pill and alcohol abuse. And one day Tevin came home to find his mother on the floor and unresponsive. He got her into the car and drove as quickly as he could to the hospital, but ran a red light and had to swerve to avoid someone crashing into a local corner store, which killed them both upon impact. In case you haven't caught on already, all these characters have died in one way or another. And at the end of the series, I'll explain why that is and why they're all in a class photo together. Give this video a like and a share, because in the next video, I'm going to show you guys some of the music. This character is based on my little sister and outlines a true story that makes me so angry that it keeps me up at night. This is Sammy Jammy. Sammy is quiet and guarded, but anybody that's taken the time to get to know her knows that she's one of the sweetest people you'll ever meet. When Sammy was about 14 years old, she was running around and having fun with her friends. She accidentally bumped into a man with a hot cup of coffee in his hand, and although no coffee was spilt, Sammy still profusely apologized. But instead of accepting her apology, the man poured scalding hot coffee on my sister and badly burnt her head and face. And the police did nothing. As payback, I wrote a song about it on my next album, and I want you guys to sing this part with me.
Fuck that guy, I hope he's dead. Fuck that guy, I hope he's dead. Fuck that guy, I hope he's dead.
The song is called Sam Jam, and feel free to use this sound if you want to say
Fuck that guy, I hope he's dead. Intro to the Class of Cardinal Sin.
Here are 2 more characters that I made from random toy parts and then painted for my album art. This is Ray Razzie. Ray is extremely intelligent, but has ADD and struggles to pay attention in classes that he doesn't really care about. In Ray's last year of school, he was expelled for creating a drug that he sold to his classmates. So Ray set up a lab in his parents' basement where he could conduct his experiments without being bothered, one of which involved Fence Ferguson. Fence was a star student as well as an athlete that suffered an unfortunate injury during training, which left him in a wheelchair. Fence dreamed of being able to walk again, and Ray offered him a surgery that would make exactly that happen. But when Fence woke up, he found that he had the body of an animal, and in a panic rushed for the window, knocking over Ray as well as a bottle on the shelf that poured into a cup. This caused a chemical reaction that filled the room with a toxic gas, killing them both within minutes. These are 2 more characters from the new album cover for Class of Cardinal Sin, first single out December 11th.
Intro to the Class of Cardinal Sin.
I cut up a bunch of toys to make unique characters for my new album art, and this is Jake and Jack Johnson. They run with the jock clique at high school, but after suffering from anxiety and depression throughout their teens, they became gentle at heart, often checking in with those who need it most. They play a multitude of different sports, but in an unfortunate accident, they injured one of their teammates. They both felt so bad about this that they visited their teammate at hospital every single day, but one day arrived to find the bed empty, and on their way out caught the attention of a surgeon. Jake and Jack wanted to wear their friend's jersey for the final game of the season, but before they could get out to the field, they were ambushed and thrown into a car, where they were taken far away by the surgeon. He drove deep into the woods where he knew that no one would be able to hear him, and choked them both to death. He then took their body to his attic where he had a display room filled with skulls, and could now gaze upon his newest addition to the collection. This is one of the characters from my new album, Class of Cardinal Sin. First single is out December 11th.
Intro to the Class of Cardinal Sin.
I cut up a bunch of toy parts and then glued them back together in different ways to make unique characters for my new album art. And I'm gonna introduce you to a character called Alex Anderson. Alex is an indie kid and loves nothing more than being the first person to find a new band that she truly connects with. Alex also suffers from a multitude of sleep disorders. She's often found sleepwalking and has sleep hallucinations that cause her to see things that aren't there. There's a story behind why she's holding ice cream, and that's because she's dating someone called Penny. They were regulars at an ice cream parlor and would walk around town enjoying each other's company. But when Penny was killed in a shooting, Alex could no longer sleep, and her hallucinations took a turn for the worst. She began roaming the streets in a sleep-deprived state, and eventually made her way back to the ice cream store. But on her way out, she swears that across the road she could see Penny, and without looking, crossed the road as a driver that was distracted by a near-car accident hit her head-on. This is the artwork for my new album, first single out December 11th. I cut up a bunch of toy parts and then painted them to make unique characters for my new album art. And today I'm introducing you to Lynn. Lewis had a rough life at home due to a physically abusive father. And as things got progressively worse for Lewis, the school started noticing his bruises and marks. They quickly got child services involved and moved him over to his uncle's house. Finally, Lewis had escaped the torture. And although his uncle wasn't around a lot, he had the company of his cousin, Tony Tazzari. They both enjoyed living at the house, but couldn't figure out why the attic door was always locked. Until one day Lewis came home early from school and turned the stove on to make some tea. He noticed that a fox had made its way into the house and led him upstairs to the attic door that was now open. He stepped inside and saw the horrors that his uncle had been keeping in there, and in a rush to get out of the house, he lost his footing on the stairs and fell to his death. And since Lewis left the stove on, Tony came home to find the house on fire and rushed inside to help his cousin. But the house collapsed with Tony still inside. These are 2 new characters from my new album, Class of Cardinal Sin. First single, December 11th.